smart city dialogues. So, it is, the last few months, the entire smart city has caught the nation's imagination, right? Our Prime Minister has taken many decisions and actions and investments towards smart city and what it means and so on. That begs a few questions for people coming from different vantage point, right? What does smart city mean? There are different definitions doing the rounds. There are different perspectives, whether it is a technology play and what is the role that technology plays in making this happen. So as we thought about this conference, I just want to give it a bit of a perspective how we came up with this topic, smart city in the context of a developing nation, and to be more appropriate for India, right? So there are, as you think about globalization, right? I mean, we are about history of urbanization we've tracked, and there are some countries who are about 70 to 80% urbanized, right? And as we think about India, we are about 33%, give or take, urbanized. Although about 60+% of our GDP comes from urbanized areas. And again, history will tell us that once you hit the 30% mark, it's an inflection point, right? From getting from 30% urbanization to 60, 70%, countries typically zip to that point. So that is an interesting moment that we live in, and from an India perspective, that could be a problem or an opportunity, depending on the decisions that we make today and actions we take in terms of how we urbanize and how we manage urbanization. So, and I'm going to use the word smart city and urbanization, in a iterative way, because they kind of have a huge overlap as to how we think about it. So, in the context of India also, states that have urbanized more seem to be more progressive from a development economic standpoint. Right? If you look at states like Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Punjab, Gujarat, they are good examples of how urbanization has contributed to economic progress, and that seems to be the path forward as we think about India, but it comes with its sets of limitations when not planned properly, when it's uncontrolled, as some of the experts will talk about today. So how do we take this head on, and how do we do it in a more planful way? And again, some people will say we already missed the boat in terms of being planful. So how do we catch up? How do we bring in the urgency in terms of thinking about urbanization? What could we set right? So I think that is a context that I want to set today for experts to talk about. And the second part of it is, there is this heated debate about, do we lead with technology as we think about smart cities, or what role does technology play in it? So we have stalwarts from IBM and Cisco to lend us their perspective as to how they think about smart cities and how technology plays a leadership role in making all of this happen. And there are also experts who talk about it is not just a technology play, right? It is an enabler, and an enabler only, right? So smart city is also about efficiency, urban planning, integrated planning. How do you make quality of living much better in cities with or without technology, right? There is a much bigger aspect of smart city. And how do we bring it all together to make it a smart city? And I'd love to hear the experts talk about that today as well. And the third thing is, history has also taught us, there are other countries who have developed fast, but can we replicate all of that in India, right? Is that a relevant case study? Is the entire, we talked about examples in Germany and how some of the cities are smart. Are those examples relevant for us, right? There are people who argue, yes, a lot of it is, and there are people who argue, we are a country of incredible diversity in many ways, so some of it has to be designed for India in terms of how we think about smart cities. So we talk about we needing to create our own examples as to how smart city should be, and then replicating that throughout India. So I think that's going to be an interesting perspective that we hear today as well. And finally, smart city is also about citizen participation, right? And I think that there's a couple of perspectives that we'll hear today about how citizens should come forward to participate in it, right? There are changes. Are there changes required in how we govern ourselves, governance structure, not just the government, but also people self-governing or contributing to governance, and what kind of ecosystem do we have to invite that and make it a necessary part of living in the city, being a citizen? So I think that is another interesting perspective that we'll cover today. So I think it is a very, very interesting discussion and dialogue today with very different perspectives coming from different angles. And I know all of you play a very active role in your function, be it as a citizen or a government player or a private participant academic. So I really urge you to be interactive, participate, enrich the dialogue today with your observations and comments, and I think we'll all be better off for that. So with that, I'm going to wish you all have a very productive and meaningful session today to contribute towards our understanding of what smart city is in the context of developing nations. So thank you.
Thank you, Nat.